have these rights because you are essentially genetically defective. That's the case you're making.
Okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you your argument. You're done. Now let's go with socially engineering out the Second Amendment. Like 4 of the Supreme Court justices looked right at the Constitution and said, "Well, handguns are dangerous, so we're just gonna reinterpret. We're just gonna reinterpret and socially engineer handguns out of the Constitution. We're just going to take away a fundamental right of America."
First of all, the limitation on handguns in certain environments has been around since the inception of the Constitution. Quite frankly,
ownership?
No, not ownership. Right to carry. Right to carry and registration has been around since, for decades and been held up many, many times. What the decision in the Supreme Court did was kick it back down in the Ninth Court so that the cities could still make up their own minds. They had to redefine this law. It was not, and the conservatives are just siding with a guns should be everywhere kind of an idea, that they should overreach and say that a city doesn't have the right to say, we have a problem with cheap handguns making it into every walk of life, and we need to do something to limit that. And they're saying, no, zero limitations.
Look at the tactic you just used. Cheap handguns, as in the Saturday Night Special.
Right, it's a big problem.
How about
go to the Austin neighborhood in Chicago. That's where this law came from, and that's where it got all the way up. That's what the actual case is actually about.
Gangsters are using world-class weapons. They're using M14s, M16s, AK-47s. They're using world-class handguns. And yet you liberals look at innocent people, innocent, honest American citizens, say, Jack just gets shot to death. Who cares? Don't move if you want
Actually,
to.
You can get a concealed permit in Chicago. You can get a concealed carry permit in Chicago. You can apply for one. You can actually have a handgun license in Chicago. This is not what that law was about. It was about the limitation of sales and laws about that because of how easily they were to get.
No chance. It's easy to get for criminals and for an honest American. Look who I'm in Chicago. Look who you're talking to.
I know.
No chance can you go down. Where's the gun store in Chicago? Where is there a handgun store in Chicago? No chance. They're all way out in the suburbs. There's no way you're
so your rights as an American are defined by how far you have to go to shop at this point. That you literally, because you can't buy them downtown and walk right out onto the street with them, this is a violation of your Second Amendment rights. This is it.
Then go to Massachusetts if you want to get married and you're the same genders. So who says that it has to be in every state? That's the problem, is that you guys, when it comes to social engineering, it starts in kindergarten, first grade, and you start telling people how to live.
Right. So if a city, so at this point, any state can outlaw any religion that they choose. This is okay. They can actually actively outlaw a particular religion.
That would be violating the Constitution's First Amendment.
Okay, well, equal protection is and equality are in there. They just didn't define gays out in it.
The government can do nothing at all about religion. Nothing. That's what it says in the First Amendment.
Right, exactly.
Fact,
and that includes taking the religious definition of marriage and applying it to a group of people against their will. So if somebody wants to call their relationship marriage, they can, because every marriage in this country starts as a civil union in the courts, and you can call it whatever the hell you want. You can use whatever word you want. And you are arguing for the right to not feel weird. This is the whole thing. You think that other people having rights somehow limits your life because it makes you have to explain more things.
If you don't want a gun, don't buy one. If you don't want to drink scotch, don't drink scotch.
Right.
If you don't want to do heroin, well, let's legalize heroin, and then let's see what happens with the heroin addicts, how we're going to keep them sane, happy, and honest. How are you going to do that? This is the thing with social engineering.
Look, you can, I'm not pro heroin, but that's a social engineering thing. You're saying people who want to use heroin shouldn't be able to use it because it's detrimental to their lives. That's nanny state. That's what you're arguing for. The Republicans are a nanny state party.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, they are. Thanks for the call. I'm Hal Sparks. 1-800-STEP-12 is our number. We'll be back right after this. I'm not going to talk in circles to somebody who wants to argue that his entire life system should be overlaid onto everybody else's life. And then pretend that passing a law like traffic signals, on the level of traffic signals, is social engineering. It's goofy. Has no basis in fact. I will never back down because this idea this is stunning to me. When people call in and say, I'm an independent, I'm not a GOP, I'm not a Republican, I'm an independent, I'm a libertarian, I believe, and liberals want to define life. They want to create, America in a specific image, and they've got this idea. They want to socially engineer the world to fit their worldview. All these people seem to argue against is their ability to not feel icky about stuff. This guy literally, the argument he was making about gays not being able to call their relationship marriage and straights being able to call it marriage is that he's afraid of a thought wave. This is the only way that this affects his life at all, is that if that thought enters his head, he has to deal with it. Or he has to tell his children that that's how those people live. He can't deal with the fact that someone might be culturally different from him and that it fits in the same box in America as he does. They don't belong. And the weird thing is, what he's really arguing is, I don't want to have that other thought in my head. Because somebody else, if somebody marries their car, it doesn't affect how I have relationships. If somebody says they're an atheist and I'm religious, it doesn't affect my religious beliefs. If I'm religious, if I'm an atheist and somebody's really religious, that doesn't affect my true beliefs about whether or not I believe that there's a deity. And the idea that somehow we should be able to legislate that out of existence or push this idea that we're a Christian nation so that anybody who isn't Christian, be they atheist or Jewish or Muslim or Scientologist or Wiccan or anything, those people are other and don't belong in the American soup, the American salad bowl, as it were. They don't belong here because this is a Christian nation. And matter of fact, I want to get resolutions passed. You see any liberals trying to pass a resolution saying America's a Muslim country or a Christian country or a Jewish country? No, you don't. You see liberals fighting for separation of church and state so that no matter what your religion is, you get to practice it your own way. But you don't get to practice your religion when it impedes on the other people's ability to practice their religious belief or their lack of religion. And if I am an atheist in this country, or I don't believe in any kind of deity, and I'm fine with the word marriage meaning coupling, and two gay people want to get married, then they have every right to do that. Because the atheists in this country don't care either way. And they have as much rights as the Christians do, who think that that's important, or the Catholics, or Jews, or Muslims, or anybody. And the whole point of religious freedom is that you can believe whatever you want, but you can't impinge on everybody else's. And the same thing goes with, freedom of, with a woman's right to choose. Most of them are that's a religious-based rule for a lot of people. A lot of right-wing people view themselves as Christians, are anti-choice, consider themselves pro-life, and are pro-death penalty. And this is a mental disease that we're dealing with, because you have people who literally want to define the life of another human being by their own belief system and limit that person's ability to live the way they want to live. And then they want to call themselves libertarian independents. They want to call themselves Republicans who are conservative and believe in the Constitution, the right of people to live free or die, as long as those people live within a small circle of influence. It's amazing to me that thought can fit in their head at the same time, as that other limiting belief. And I don't get how. Watch Rand Paul. Ron Paul's another story, but watch Rand Paul try to fit those thoughts into his head. We've got just a minute coming up, and then right after the break, we're very lucky to have Susan Sarandon with us, talking about the Reading is Fundamental program. The answer is always education, folks, and education and information. The more cultural diversity, the more openness you have in a society, the more we can all learn from each other. So after the break, we will be coming back to that, and we've got a lot of calls. So after Susan is with us, I'll get back to you guys. But it's amazing to me, guys, that the GOP is largely arguing for the right to not feel icky. This is their cultural platform. Don't live like you live. because then I have to question how I live